Okay, great. I see we are streaming. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Traffic and Transportation for Community Board 10 in Brooklyn. My name is Anthony Marino, Chair. It is Monday, May 8th, and we are meeting over Zoom. We have two items on the agenda for tonight. One having to do with PS 185 and the other the Merchants of Third Avenue. So we will start with PS 185. There's an application for full street closure on Ridge Boulevard from 86th to 87th Street, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. from September 4th, 2023 to June 30th of 2024. Construction on the building is beginning shortly, and so we need to start this program soon. So I see many representatives from PS 185. Should I throw it to, is it Raina, the principal?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, how are you? Welcome.
How are
welcome to
you?
our
Thank
meeting.
you. Thank you so much for inviting the PS 185 community to this meeting.
Absolutely.
You all know me, but I'm Rena Gudelius. I'm the principal of 185. As you know, if you passed the school, we are under construction. We have scaffolding around the building. We need roof repair. The building will be needing the scaffolding until August 2024. They have been using our schoolyard. Our schoolyard is full of scaffolding. So with me, I have a committee that's been working on this. So Ms. Paul is leading the committee. I want to thank them for all their hard work. But Ms. Paul will explain to you what's been happening at the school. Thank you, Ms. Paul.
Okay, I'm Jane Paul. I teach phys ed at PS 185. And as Ms. Dedelia said, we are having work done at our school. It did start on time in last month. So I do anticipate that we will be ending on time next summer, not this summer, the summer 2024. Our schoolyard, we have approximately maybe 30% of our schoolyard that we're able to use right now. And part of that, we have water problems, so drainage issues. So if it rains the day before, we can't use that part of the schoolyard also. So what we really would want is that during the recess time, which our lunch hours really start about 11:15 and end by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's really what we want the open streets for the children to have recess outside. As it is now, when we do let the kids go out there, they can only kind of just stand around. We do have 2 grades at a time, and we have 2 lunch periods going on. So again, we start our first lunch period approximately at 11:15, and the last lunch period ends at 1:05. So that is primarily what we do. We are a community public school, and we service the children around the school. So, we have a lot of support from the community as of now. We are going to use parent volunteers, and we have school aides that supervise the children.
So I've also been in contact with the police, and they will provide the barricades for us. Also, I just want to add that we're about 250 kids lunch session. So again, it's a lot of kids. The scaffolding did, we only have 30% of our schoolyard available right now. So the kids need to get out, and we need to close the street for that. They just need to get out. In other words, they'd be in the school, and then again, like Ms. Paul said, the schoolyard, kids are just standing around. The scaffolding has to go out at least 14 feet away from the building.
And we have a very small walkway. It's about 12 feet from the fence, and it's a small walkway. So that's where some of the kids are right now. And then we have a area which we call the beach, where we let the younger children go out. And right now it's really kind of tough for them. We don't really have a gym. We have a, a gym area that we use, but it's not like a traditional gym. We are a pretty small school. We're over 100 years old. And we do service right now, I think 582 children in the community. And next year we do expect to actually our registers to go up, possibly to 590 to 600 children next year. So this, again, we really feel it's important that the children get out during recess.
So we also have a rooftop where the play area where the children could play, but that will also be closed. We have a little garden outside that will also be closed. So there is very limited space for the children to play.
And again, we don't want this to be a
phys ed.
permanent thing. As soon as we get our school back, that's what we want. We want our kids back in our schoolyard. This is just something for the 23-24 school year.
Thank you so much. Do we have some questions and comments from our committee?
I do.
Carmen, yep.
While they were talking, they did a good presentation, but all I kept thinking to myself was public school, private property. And I think at some point, it might be nice if they could come in or we could send them a letter saying, this is what's happened in other areas, kids littering, going into yards, the noise level, that little damage, just to prep them so that they can maybe talk to the children ahead of time. Because I can understand their plight, but I can also understand the plight of what's going to happen to the homeowners. So I think there needs to be some kind of communication or education saying these are the kind of things that the neighbors don't want to have to deal with. So I think some kind of conversation, either we can share different things that we've recently dealt with, and if they can just educate the kids that once they go out, yes, they're going out to play, but it's still a public street where people are living and maybe working from their homes. Just so we don't have a round two of what we just dealt with.
I totally agree with you. We are going to try to keep the kids in front of the school where there's no parking, and not have them go across the street. But yes, I totally agree with a noise level.
Right.
The only thing we have across the street from us is a huge apartment building, which, we've always been good neighbors to. If they have issues parking, we're always accommodating. So I do agree the children do need to be respectful. And if we found that the children would, we will have supervision. So none of the children will go up into the apartment building. We do have many children that actually do live in that apartment building. And I do have a parent liaison that lives in the apartment building. So I do agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
The children need to be respectful, and respect neighbors. I feel like if we found that, that there was some kind of problem, we would have to alternate it, maybe put less children out at a time. And since we do have a little bit of the schoolyard, we will be able to put maybe some classes still in our schoolyard.
Go ahead. I also want to say that we're going to just try to close it just for lunch. So 11:15 to 1:05, we would only close it for lunch. We're okay with dismissal. And again, like Ms. Paul said, we can use our schoolyard. We do have some part of the schoolyard if we need it.
Okay, thank you. Diane?
Good evening, everyone. Recess is a really important thing for children. In my 30 years as an educator, I found that it's really important for the children to be able to get out, get some fresh air, etc. But I'm would like to know, did you consider possibly doing something like St. Anselm's did? Is it St. Anselm's or OLA? I can't remember which one. What's the one on 73rd Street? They closed 74th Street during part of the day to have the children access, the street there, instead of it being a major thoroughfare like Ridge Boulevard. I'm concerned very much about the safety of the children on Ridge Boulevard. If you could possibly consider closing off 87th Street from 3rd to Ridge, and it being, a little bit more contained. You don't have to use the entire block, obviously, but there around the schoolyard until Ridge Boulevard, that alongside with the part of the schoolyard that you're able to use, maybe that would make a more safe condition. We just had a case where another school was closing Ridge Boulevard, and it proved to be very, I think it was a dangerous situation. And so I'm all in for the children getting recess and being outside, but I think it might be easier to control the situation if it were on 87th Street rather than on Ridge Boulevard.
Well, to tell you the truth, that was my original plan, but it seems that we would inconvenience more people on 87th Street than we would on Ridge Boulevard. So that was my original plan, 87th Street. And also, we would have to have a person all the way down on 3rd Avenue controlling the traffic, which is, far from the school, because we're essentially on Ridge Boulevard. Also, we don't have as clear as a parking. We have, I'm going to say, right down to the first house, Mrs. Gadelius. We have no parking. So it's on Ridge Boulevard. We do have the whole front of the school that no one can park because it's a school. But I
Except
did
that it's on the
originally-
other side, they can park. Is that correct? By the
On the other
apartment
side.
building, they will still be able to park.
Yes,
Yes.
they will still be able to park. But on 87th Street, I also, I think there's some elderly people that may have to get in and out during the day on 87th Street. I did talk to the neighbors. So before I put in any application, I did kind of weigh who would be least inconvenienced. So it seemed to me, and I did kind of get advice from, people that it would probably be better to close Ridge Boulevard because it's a smaller area. And we just really had the one apartment building instead of houses where people are getting in and out of their driveways per se.
Right, there were no driveways on
No,
Ridge Boulevard.
On Ridge Boulevard, yeah, that's for sure.
Stephanie?
Yes, hello, good evening. I have two questions, please. The first, how many children would be in the street at a given time? And then earlier, someone had said that there's a lot of support from the community. Is there support specifically for this this request? Like, are there neighbors, are there individuals who've come forward, including parents that are think that this is a positive program? Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to answer the support. Yes, we have a lot of parents that live on that block. So of course they are in support of that. I'm sorry, what was your other question though?
It's okay. How many children at a given time
yes.
during this,
Okay,
this lunch period?
We have, we'll be putting out we have I'm going to say about 2 grades out at a time. So that would be approximately
200, about 200, about 100. We have about 100 or so on a grade.
Is that 100 total? Is that 100 total
No,
in front of the school, or is
200.
that, I'm sorry, is that split between what you have in the back schoolyard and the front, or is that just 200 kids in the front?
No, it would be split between the front and the back.
About what kind of split would that be? An even split or?
I'm not sure if it would be an even split.
So let's just say,
It would
Jane,
be
we'll
a
put
pretty
100.
even, you know,
So
uh,
we keep the little ones, let's just say, we'll keep the little ones in the schoolyard and we'll just keep 2 to 5 outside. So 100 kids at a time.
Okay. Thank you. Steve?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I had the same questions, okay, about 87th Street. I'm still a little bit confused as to why, I mean, I recognize that the people on 87th Street, you say they may be more inconvenienced. That doesn't mean the people on Ridge would be, not be inconvenienced. And it just appears to me that, it would be safer for the children. That's all. And in general, I support the application. Having had 2 kids that went to 185, I have a soft spot for it.
thank
But
you.
I do
you.
believe, you're welcome. But it's also, it's a great school and they do a great job. But I think that the 87th Street would be better, but I wouldn't oppose it if everybody else is for it.
I just want you to be clear also, we're gonna work with the community. I mean, if we see that the noise is too loud or, you know, someone's complaining, but again, we would only take the street for that, you know, from 11:15 to 1 o'clock. That's when
Right.
we have lunch.
We
And if
had
it's
a pretty,
raining, we're not going out because it's raining, you know, so.
if the wind chill is too much, which 86th Street has, I don't know if any of you have ever been down there, but I think it's the coldest corner in all of Brooklyn, and it's definitely colder than Shore Road. But originally, yes, I did think about 87th Street, but there, you know, I know there's some elderly people that live there. I mean, we could, of course, let them in and out. You know, we want to be good neighbors, but
I think
know-
there are many challenges with 87th Street because of the number of driveways.
Yes,
I would
yes.
agree there. And as we saw with the prior application, it does become challenging. And the previous open streets that we had looked at on Ridge Boulevard for Bay Ridge Prep had one or, you know, just a handful. There are many, many more on 87th Street. So I do understand that Ridge Boulevard does not pose that. You can solidly close that street for 2 hours without the you know, without having to navigate or contemplate people who need, you know, ingress or egress from their driveways. So
and I do
understand that.
think it's an easier breakdown. And you know, again, I would have to have someone all the way down there.
Right, it's a long block.
It's a
Mhm.
long block. I mean, I did consider it, whatever, you know, I thought would be a better
Right.
situation for the community and the children,
Understand.
and which the children are a big part of that community.
Yes.
Larry?
Larry, you have to unmute yourself?
Now you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
What equipment is gonna be used to block off, Ridge Boulevard? We've got barriers, barricades.
Um,
Is somebody there directing the traffic away?
So I spoke to the police, and they're gonna provide us with barricades, and then we will have supervision on either side, just for the barricade. Somebody just supervising the barricades and traffic.
Somebody is what, school, a member of the school?
Yeah, school or parents. We have school, the school personnel will be with the children, and then we will have parent volunteers who will be on each side of the barricade.
Directing
side of the
traffic away.
street.
And we also have an emergency plan, you know, in case there was an emergency, we had to break down quickly.
That was gonna be my next question. Yeah. Thank you. Dean?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what Josephine said. I think 87th Street potentially would be more dangerous because of the number of homes and potential drivers that would be coming out. They have to go down the block to get out and or come down from 3rd Avenue. But I think 87th Street, on the surface, it might seem better, but I think it would definitely be more dangerous than Ridge Boulevard. There's too many potential vehicles coming in and out. Thank you.
Diane?
Yeah, I have another question. So I mean, I'm not opposed to it being on Ridge Boulevard at all, but possibly, since you've been in touch with the police department, could they, one, authorize for the school crossing guard to work during those hours as well? To, provide additional support, as well as possibly putting an auxiliary police officer on the other end, so that in addition to the supports that you have at the school, that there would be these, additional safety measures possible.
That would be great if we could get I really would feel more comfortable with that, if we could get that support. I mean, Mrs. Gadelius has a very good rapport now with the police. They're meeting every
week. I
every
meet with
week.
them every week, so I have a meeting with them tomorrow at 1 o'clock, so I will,
And we
in the
are down one
situation.
school crossing guard on 87th Street for whatever reason. I
Which-
think he was promoted and we haven't really placed
And
him.
maybe you can recruit one of your parent volunteers to become a school crossing guard, because that's the only way they're hired. I know that from my experience. And that might just help the situation as well.
Yeah, they're down crossing guards, Diane. That's why we haven't found a replacement.
I think usually in September they retire. That's how I notice it.
No, we are down quite a few school crossing guards. There's a hiring problem citywide, and it certainly is impacting us. But if there is one available at lunchtime, I think certainly that would be an important location to have covered.
We do have the same crossing guard on 86th Street for many years. So,
Okay.
I don't know if she would like those extra hours to.
So
to
in
do that.
addition, I believe there is a crossing guard also at 85th Street and Ridge Boulevard. So if they had an issue, that possibly they could offer that to, the additional hours to that person who might want to work those hours as well. Just a thought.
It's a very good thought. Thank you.
Yep. Yes. I'll bring it up with them tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Jane Marie?
Yep.
Hi there. I was just going to also add that I believe that the former principal Linus had tried to get the Play Street. I feel like, Josephine, that we had that as something that had come up with us, and that there were a lot of issues with 87th Street, and that had happened many years ago, but that it was a challenge for the school to use 87th Street. And so, like, with that in mind, I understand about their preference for Ridge Boulevard, but I would just caution them to also keep in mind some of these things that others have mentioned about issues that have happened with another school in the area that also has been running into issues. Just because your barriers are up doesn't mean that other people are not going to want to cross into it or come through. And, somebody trying to move their car out, even though there is not, from what I'm recalling, you're opposite the apartment building. It's not that you're opposite of a driveway per se, but there still may be people who want to be moving in or out. If you can secure your parent volunteers, that's probably, as has been mentioned, your best alternative, because unfortunately there is the crossing guard shortage that has been mentioned. And even if they were able to recruit somebody else, it's not necessarily that they would have the funding to support the extra hours, although I think that's a phenomenal idea. So if you have that crew of families who are willing to help, your edges of each block, obviously that's where you need them. That's where you need them really lined up like soldiers, because that's where you'll have the, unfortunately, people will try and make that turn if that's where they want to go. And it is a very scary situation. In front of PS 69 where I am, we had changed it to a one direction where it had been two, and we still get people going the wrong way all the time, daily. So, sometimes even the arrows and everything else you might put out don't necessarily dissuade all of the drivers who are determined to go the way that suits their needs. So just to keep that in mind, and especially because due to weather and due to the reality of the school day, like you said, the wind, the rain, you might not have those barricades up every day. So Thursday, the driver may have been able to make that turn and go on Ridge Boulevard, but because the weather was bad and you didn't have to block up the street. But the next day, you have your barricades up again, and they're not expecting that.
So
And-
what you're saying is
Yeah.
we should have a parent there directing the traffic.
You need to have you need to have a crew. That's your fortress. That's where you need, at least, I would say at least 4 on each side if you could, because seriously, you have a very wide street. So even if the police department gives you 2 or 3 of the horses to put out,
Right.
it's still not going to be end to end. And unfortunately, people do try to wiggle through where they feel they have an opening. So, we want to be proactive and really, keep our kids safe, of course. And I know that that's your goal. And of course, we want kids to have the same opportunities. Because we are in a commercial corridor at PS 69, when we were getting our scaffolding and work done, we decided that it was too risky because we have so much truck traffic and the high lows that travel around our school. So what we did was we came up with a plan where the kids were not as many children out each day, but they were on the rotating basis. And unfortunately, that may have to be like a runner-up depending on how things proceed.
Thank you. Larry.
Yeah, speaking of trying to get through, or someone will the people be prepared in case a fire truck has to get through? I'm just thinking, imagine that scenario.
We did have to make a plan when I submitted. So, yeah, people will have to move and be prepared. We drew out a plan of a fire lane and if what fire truck had to get through. So, that would, the parents or anybody at that would have to be able to move the barricades.
Okay. I'm good.
Jack.
Hi, I just have 3 questions. One, is there going to be signage? So pertaining to what Jane Mary said, in addition to having potential people routing, will there be signage saying that their street is closed or half closed or whatever it may be?
Well, we would have to have signage, and we'd have to have someone directing, let's say we have, really, people will come down 87th Street into Ridge Boulevard. So I'm gonna say that would be our bigger problem than 86th Street. Because 86th Street is, both ways. And 87th Street, people, yeah, they'll come down, they'll expect to be able to turn into Ridge Boulevard. So, I don't know how much signage I could put up on 3rd Avenue, directing people that, you can't turn. And if people would even, look at that signage. I feel like the signage would have to be down on Ridge Boulevard, and you'd have to have someone directing them.
That's fair.
We need both. We need both. We need the people and we need the signage.
Will both parts of the Ridge Boulevard street be closed? So like both lanes be closed?
Yes.
Yes.
Will the bike lane be closed?
Never really thought, but yes, I like
Yeah,
it
I'm
close. Once
assuming, yeah.
the kids are there, once the kids are out, I don't, I'm gonna be
I don't
totally honest.
see
Some of the people on the bike lanes aren't exactly the safest, not the safest. So I'd like to close the bike lane also.
Amen to that.
And then last question, the parking on the other side of the street, that's still going to be available, right?
Yes.
Is there a way to not have that be available and only available for egress only? I'm just kind of worried for the safety of the children. There's only 9 spots really, and it's only for 2 hours. So I was wondering if that's possible.
I'm not sure if that would be possible. You know, we'd have to, I think, put, you know, city signs up, no parking. You know, I don't know if, I have been very conscious of seeing how much traffic moves in and out of there. And I really don't see a lot. I see very limited people moving their cars during the day. I feel like a lot of people get those spots. I live in the neighborhood. I live on 90th and Ridge, right across from Visitation. So I feel like a lot of people get those spots and hold them for the day. A lot of them are teachers that work in the school. And, you know, usually if you've got that spot, you went off to work, or I'm not saying I never see anyone moving their car, but I do, it's not as, like I said, I'm trying to be conscious to see how much movement. I don't see a lot.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thanks.
Okay, Stephanie?
Yes, thank you. I'm just very concerned about safety, and I would be remiss if I didn't state that the issues haven't changed since the last time this committee discussed the other school that put in an application. And among the concerns were car accidents that happen in the vicinity, whether or not they would be contained on the other side of the barrier. You have rogue drivers, unfortunately, who, you know, I hope not, but would possibly barrel through a barricade. But also one of the other issues was that a lot of the motorbikes or delivery people, the pedal assist or e-bikes, would not go around the block. They would just move to the sidewalk and ride there. And I think that might be a problem too if you close down the bike lanes, and just overall safety concerns.
Well, when you close down the street, there's, you know, that's part of the block, a bike lane. So, you know, I
Understood. My concern is that people, the cyclists or those who are not driving cars that are on any motorized, even if it's not motorized, mode of transportation, they will not detour like a car would be forced to detour. They have they go onto the sidewalk, and it would be.
Yeah, but a motorcycle, you know, and I understand, you know, you understand what I'm saying. They shouldn't be on the sidewalk no matter what.
I agree. I absolutely agree. But the reality is different.
Actually, it's illegal for, you know, a bicyclist to be.
Yeah, if it's not a child, yes. And unfortunately, these are the realities that we are dealing with. And as I said, I'd be remiss if I did not raise that, because just because you put a barricade up doesn't mean people adhere to it.
But you know, I understand exactly what you're saying. I just feel like people will be there to guide. Maybe people be less.
There will be adult presence, whether, you know, from our community, to hopefully, you know, if they see anybody, they'll just have to direct them to go around. I mean, you know, what else? The only thing we can do is have people there directing. You know what I mean? I'm hopeful that we do get at the crossing guard. I'll find out tomorrow. And I'm hopeful, you know, that we do get a police present, but the parents of the school will be there to direct. We'll have signage. But, you know, that's all we can offer is, you know, adult presence. I mean, I don't want the bike lane open. I know what you're saying about them going on the sidewalk, but it's not safe. I would not want anybody, if my kids are out there, I don't want anybody on the bike lane.
I agree.
Jane Marie?
Yeah, I thank you. And I understand what Stephanie is trying to say. You know, we've really had a lot of e-bike incidents in the area, and it's more the e-bikes that would be a worry, especially if there's lunchtime deliveries being made. because as you know that, there is a lot of e-bike traffic with lunchtime deliveries. And the other thing I would add is that when you have your squad of volunteers, I don't know what time the alternate side ends, if it ends at 11 o'clock across
10:30.
the street. 10:30, yeah, because that would be the time where those cars might get moved. Like if people are coming after alternate side or for alternate side, that's when they're going to be, that movement. And that would be the extra time that you would need to have supervision in that area. So just to kind of put that on your bulletin when you get your list of volunteers or people signing up to help on different times, that you need extra support on alternate side days particularly.
It will actually be one alternate side day on Ridge Boulevard, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Jack?
You mentioned earlier that there's a policy of potentially not going out during rain, during cold weather, etc. Will you have a policy for the minimum number of parents or volunteers that will need to be there in order for children to go out? And what would that number be?
I think there should be 4 parents on each side. So yes, if for whatever reason, parents could not man and we didn't have enough manpower, yes, we would not close the streets.
Okay, great.
Dan?
I'm just curious whether the Department of Transportation could put signage for the year where there is no parking on that block at all. From 86 to 87th Street in front of the apartment building until like after 2 o'clock. Leroy, is that possible?
Hey, this is actually Kyle from the DOT. I work
Oh.
with Leroy. I manage the Open Streets program. Good evening, everyone. That is possible. It is something that we can explore. If that is something that the community board would like, they should just include it in the resolution if this moves forward. And we can definitely make that happen by September. But obviously that is a parking impact at the end of the day. And, to some degree, there's, it's not perfection. People definitely sometimes don't move, but in coordination with NYPD, we could definitely see what enforcement is possible, so long as the regulations are formally changed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Yeah, you got me?
Yep.
Yes.
I thought it was a good point about the bikes and the e-bike deliveries. I just want to know if the 185 staff, if you ever have people that do get deliveries at lunch hour and that kind of thing in the staff, I mean, where they have e-bike deliveries, does that ever occur?
Yes.
I'm not that I do, but I have seen some deliveries come in. I would
just recommend, you might even include it in there, that you prohibit that during this period of time, to make sure, because it's not the teachers, it's not the staff, but it's the e-bike guys that come along and we don't know what's going to happen. So I think that would be something. Would you have a problem with including some kind of a resolution that included that there'd be no e-bike deliveries during that period of time?
Mrs.
No.
Gedalius?
No, I will speak to the staff. I mean, again, do they have e-bike? I mean, that we do have deliveries. I can't say we don't have deliveries. Teachers do order lunch, but are they on e-bikes? I mean, usually it's the neighborhood. So, yes, I can.
No, I'm talking about specifically to the school, specifically to the school.
Right. Yes, I can.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Then that should be included.
Anyone else?
Anthony, we do have some attendees that are present. I'm not sure why they're here. Typically at this point, we do open it up. The community board did provide extensive public notice on this application. So if there is an attendee that has a question on this application, I would say you could use your hand raise function now, and we will call upon you. Okay. Anthony, I do not see any hands raised. The one question I had, I guess, for the school team is that it's my understanding that the school wanted to commence the open street beginning at the end of this, sooner rather than later, and not wait until September. Is that still true? Is that, would you like to begin, was the application amended so that it could begin later this month for a few weeks before the end of the school year?
How do you feel about that, Rena?
I mean, if we can't, listen, the scaffolding is up. It started already. So if we can, that would be great. I know the application was for September, but if we can amend it and start this year.
Yeah, I guess I'll turn it to DOT. Is that something that,
Yeah, that's no problem from our perspective.
Is there adequate time for notice to the community?
We'll
We
make sure
did-
that we work with the school to do even more outreach ahead as it gets close to launch.
How would that happen? What would happen during the summer months?
We're closed in the summer.
Oh, you don't have any
No,
programs?
we don't have air conditioning, so we don't usually have summer school. We're, as I said, we're over 100 years old. In fact, we've had a kind of rough year in the fact that our auditorium is being worked on
Oh, geez.
simultaneously. They're putting air conditioning in, but when they went in to put the air conditioning in, we didn't have walls that reinforced the units. So, and the new air conditioning has, since COVID, have a filtering system. So they came, they shut down, Mrs. Gadelius was very kind. She shut down the auditorium because, you know, they can only work at night, but they had to get the units in. But we ran into this big problem. And they actually wanted to come back again, right? Mrs. Gadelius, and work during June, but we struck a deal and they're coming back in the summer.
So you don't have anything like NIA or any of those?
We
No.
do have NIA, yes.
You
We
do.
do, but the NIA is finished June 26th, last day of school. We
So
have
it-
nothing in the summer, nothing. Yeah, nothing during vacations. So the streets would be open.
Yeah, but you 264 is where we have summer school. You know, that's where
Okay.
all our kids go.
Okay, thanks.
So it would only be during the school year on a nice day.
And we're hoping that they get a lot of work done this summer.
Okay.
Anthony, I do see an attendee with a hand raised, so I'm going to call upon Christine Gallo. Christine, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, yes, I'm a neighbor on 87th Street, so I have a question and then just a comment. Will the children be allowed to, will you keep the children in the street, or, because I know there's kind of a wide sidewalk on, in front of the apartment building. Will the children be playing on that sidewalk area, or will they only be in the street area?
I envision it on the street area because, because of the cars being there, I didn't think it would be a good idea. And again, you're then getting very close to the apartment building. And, little sometimes I don't want anyone going up on the steps. I want them on the street.
Right, so that also leads into my comment about the idea of not having parking on that side. So if there was no parking there, then the children are naturally gonna move onto that sidewalk. So that's something, your volunteers need to be aware of. And I guess you'd have to determine where the boundary is for them. And my other concern about no parking, which would be great, but one issue would be, let's say the parking, you're allowed to park at 2:00. And I know that people will start coming at 1:30 to park. And I would be very nervous about cars competing for those spots if they open up at 2. And if you make it later at 2:30, now you're interfering with your dismissal time. So I would be very careful about that idea. Just think all those possibilities through.
So our lunch period ends right now at 1:00, 1:05. So we foresee by 1:15, the latest, we're gonna open the street, because we know what it's like at dismissal. So the streets will be closed at least 45 minutes before dismissal.
Okay. All right, I feel better about that then.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
Yeah,
we
we're-
all
we're-
know what dismissal looks like. It,
As, I'm
Right.
gonna tell you, as soon as lunch is over, and we're gonna break down.
yes.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No?
Oh, wait, we do. We have one more. Oh, wait, this is a new board member is here. Marie Merville Shahzada. Marie, you should be able to speak now. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Marie, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Hi, Ms. Cordelius. I
Hi,
wanted
Marie.
to ask, hi, I know you wanted to start early. Do you have the supporting staff right now, the supporting volunteers to start earlier?
Yes. Yes, the committee met and we talked about this, and we do have the volunteers.
Okay,
And we do have more school aides also. We have 5 school aides, Marie,
that's
on top
great.
of the volunteers, just so you know.
Okay.
Thank you and welcome. Marie is a new member of Community Board 10, so I just want to say welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Okay, so to Steve's question, we did provide public notice and we did indicate that since construction of the building is beginning shortly, the school would like to implement the program as soon as possible.
Okay. So are we, I guess we're voting, right? We need a motion, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so the committee should have a recommendation that the board could review and vote upon at the meeting 1 week from today, Monday, May 15th.
Do we have any motions, well, any discussion? Justine?
Dean?
Dean?
I'd just like to make a motion to support the school's application to close Ridge Boulevard during the designated hours.
Okay.
Second.
So I have a second.
Whoa. We're saying that, but I think we had a few things in there. I would like to add on that the thing about not having that includes not having bikes making deliveries during that period of time, not allowing that within the school. Okay, that's what I would like to have added.
I don't really object to it, but I think the school could work out where maybe the deliveries come in from a side entrance. This way they don't deprive the teachers of being able to order lunch. So if they can use a
Dean,
different entrance.
I'm limiting it strictly to Ridge.
Okay, Mrs. Cordelius,
Okay.
maybe that is something we could do.
Right. We could
Right,
do
so
it.
that works.
Yeah, we could do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, with that, I have no objection.
Anyone else have anything they want to add or comments, discussion?
I just think they need to be updated to know exactly what can happen with that prior school and the issues so that they can better educate their volunteers. Because it's easy to have a group of people, and if they're a group of friends, they may just start talking and, the kids are just going to run amok. They need to know all the pitfalls, what to look out for, so that they can maintain a good relationship with the building across the street.
I think we could
Well,
depend
let-
on
well, I was-
Josephine Beckman to share that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing. I
Mhm.
was well aware of what happened at the other school.
Right.
And I will definitely let the school know exactly what the issues were and how they can avoid them.
Okay,
Thank you. Yeah, I
Thank
do
you.
agree,
Thank you,
because
Leroy.
I do think the children need to, be respectful. I often say to the kids, when I see them doing, climbing on a fence, we have to be respectful to our neighbors. And I
Yeah.
have had that discussion with them. And I do agree. It should be something, possibly we could have an assembly, Mrs. Cordelius, and really have a deep conversation.
If this is passed, obviously, we're going to meet with the children. We are going to meet with the volunteers. We're going to meet with the school aides that are going to be out there. Anyone who is out there. So again, we are going to have meetings. We're not just going to, just put everybody out there without making sure that everybody knows what they need to do to keep the
Right.
kids safe.
Let's move the
The main
question.
thing is the kids being safe.
When you have those meetings with your volunteers and the school aides and everything, I'd be happy to come over and share the experiences that have happened in other locations. So
Thank you
can
so
definitely
much.
get me and I'll come over.
Thank you,
Huh?
Leroy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leroy.
Great.
Can we move the question?
Mhm.
Okay, we had a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second, okay. So I am going to. Okay, so board members only, just with a show of hands, all in favor? Okay. Any opposed? Abstentions or recusals? Okay, one recusal. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you all. So this meeting will be the recommendation of the committee will be presented before the full board on Monday, May 15th at the Fort Hamilton Senior Center. I don't know if a representative from the school can be in attendance in case there are additional questions from the board members. We would, suggest that. And thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Thank
I
you.
will- I'll attend. I'll be
Thank
at the
you.
meeting. I'll
Great,
be at the
thank you.
meeting.
Thank you
Is
so
it
much.
in person?
Thank you for your time.
It's in person, yes. It's at the
Yeah.
Fort Hamilton Senior Center at 7 PM, which is on Fort Hamilton Parkway and 99th Street.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
Rena.
everyone.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine.
Thank you. We have a second item.
Do.
agenda.
Merchants of Third Avenue, right? Open street applications for 7/21/23 and 8/4/23, 6 to 10 PM on Third Avenue from 68th to 83rd Street, 7/28/23 to 8/11/23 from 6 PM to 10 PM on Third Avenue from 83rd Street to Marine. So do we have,
It's not two, it's only 2 days.
oh, it's 2 days? Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
only, it's the 21st and the 4th, the 28th and the 11th.
So, okay, okay, gotcha.
So it's 4 consecutive?
Yeah, the Department of Transportation requested that we do consecutive weeks. We usually had a week rest between, but we decided we were gonna do them every week as they suggested.
Okay, so so are there changes to this year's, multi-block open streets?
Yeah, there's a couple of changes. We're not gonna have any stages. We had a stage with the DJ. We're not gonna have that because it brought too many packs of young kids congregating. So, and a couple of store owners on the 83rd to 84th Street complained. So we decided, actually, the last stroll, we didn't have the stage for the last stroll either. Other than that, 6 to 10, everybody stomps at 10, everybody moves indoors. We're gonna close off the blocks. The one different, there is one other difference. There was some between the block of the Ridge Diner, the Bay
Yes.
Ridge Diner,
Mhm.
and
Food Town.
Food Town. We're gonna break it there and then start again after Food Town. Because it got too crazy. With the cars, and we don't have police presence at the strolls. So we have the marshals manning it, and we found that wasn't adequate enough, so we're gonna stop it and then start it again.
Okay, so in that break, will you have coverage there?
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah,
really was not.
we'll
yeah.
have marshals. We hired
We were
12
concerned
marshals.
last year about safety there because there were people walking in just cars. It was not a good,
Yeah, we had last year, the fellow who was running it hired young kids. And our manager this year will be Arlene and Chip. And they're gonna go with more experienced people.
Okay, so where is the break gonna be? It's gonna be from 92nd Street?
91st Street to 92nd Street.
Okay,
From the old Pippins to, from 90th Street to
90th.
92nd Street.
okay. Okay, now, is there a corresponding SAPO permit that you have to apply for, or is this just strictly DOT?
We have to do a CBO, but I haven't heard anything back from the DOT regarding this permit, so I didn't know.
Yeah, and Kyle, I know that the rules have changed. They're in the process of a rules change, so I'm not sure if the new rules are going to be implemented now. Could you maybe speak to a little bit of that for us?
Yeah, so the new rules effectively will be in place. That kind of empowers SAPO. Sorry, there's a script check going back. The new rules like empower FDNY to, or FDNY, SAPO to create their own set of rules and things like that. So we're trying to migrate the processes a little bit more.
I'm having trouble
Yeah,
hearing
we have
you,
trouble
Kyle.
hearing you, Kyle.
Can you hear me now? Can you
A
hear
little
me now?
better.
A little better.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll come back to this.
Okay, so Dan, while Kyle is fixing that, I just want to make sure I have the dates correctly. It's July 21st and August 4th from 6 to 10 from on 3rd Avenue from 68 to 83rd Street, and July 28th and August 11th on 3rd Avenue from 83rd Street to Marine, with the exception that 90th Street to 92nd Street will be open to traffic with marshals.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry
Yes.
about that. The rules are now in place. We're reviewing all the comments that we receive from community boards, the public, organizations, things like that. The rules effectively allow SAPO to create a new sort of permit type for open streets, but we want to sort of migrate the processes a little bit more, so it's a little bit more integrated. So I'll have more to share on that this summer.
Okay.
Okay, because as part of, so last year you also did have sound permit, Dan?
Yes, we go to the 68th precinct each week and pay the $40 for a sound permit. The 68th precinct gives us the barricades each event.
Okay. Okay, and this year we're ending at 10 p.m.
10 p.m.
Okay.
And there was a fellow who was complaining at the last traffic and transportation Zoom that we had, and he was a little confused. He said that the what is it, Banchi and one of the other restaurants had DJs outside after 10 o'clock, which is not, I'm there every night at 10 o'clock, which is not true. What happened on the last stroll was, if you remember, Staten Island, not Staten Island, New Jersey had that,
Right, the boot, yes.
Right.
We did, yeah, and
And-
we did speak to him afterwards, and that's
I mean,
actually a problem again.
I live on 6th Avenue, and we heard it. I didn't hear it because I'm deaf. My wife heard it
Right,
all through the night. So we don't have anything outside after 10 o'clock.
okay, perfect. Yeah, the what Dan is referring to is these boom box parking lot parties actually across the river on Staten Island, and the sound travels across the bay.
Wow.
Ironically, we had our first complaints this past weekend, and the councilman's office was in touch with the Staten Island police, and they were able to stop the loud music. I know that's going to be ongoing. And so hopefully that's not the case this year, that's going to be dealt with well in advance. We've had in the past sometimes issues with establishments who have their windows and doors open during, but I think most understand that 10 o'clock, the sound permit ends and that is that. I know that there were different rule changes, Kyle, also about the serving of alcohol during open streets as part of the new rules. But I guess that's, if there's a complimentary SAPO permit, then Dan, as we've done in last year's, those who are going to be serving outside, have specific rules about roped areas, where if they have an SLA licensed premise, it's going to be served within a certain roped off area. Is that going to remain the same?
So that'll remain the same. It does need to be a cordoned off area using, like ropes, stanchions, what have you. It's a little finicky because we're still working on the permanent outdoor dining program. So it's not maybe the same as we used to do with the summer strolls when it was under weekend walks with an extra sort of process with the SLA. Restaurants need only complete the self-certifying application online to participate in open streets, but a lot of those same regulations that were included in the summer strolls under weekend walks still apply. But it's through what we now call open restaurants, which is still a temporary program working towards a permanent program here in New York.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not concerned because all of the open restaurant participants do have the alteration to their licenses that permit them to serve outside. I don't believe we have any restaurants. I'll double check the list, Dan, with you. But I don't believe we have any that are not participating that would need the 1 day, the temporary
No.
alteration to serve outside.
No, with the exception of the new ones, the Chinese restaurant in 85th Street, can't remember the Red Bull, they're new, so they'll have to be notified. But I agree.
Okay. Be happy to help, Dan.
Yes.
Okay, Anthony.
Sounds good. Are we voting on this one or we have to?
Typically we just do,
Like
we've done in the past, a motion in support.
Okay, right, okay.
And just a reminder that amplified sound music ends at 10 p.m. and that that I would say in this case, the marshals be able to cover intersections that are open to vehicular traffic.
Okay.
Agreed. We agree to that. That's what we do.
Okay, and then in advance of the open streets, we'll have an interagency meeting just to review in advance of the meeting, as we do with the festivals and the other open events. And that's all.
Okay.
Okay, Anthony. So
All right.
so you need a motion?
Yeah, do we have a motion for support or otherwise?
Okay, Dan Loud, second by Carmen Feliciano. Okay, any discussion? Dean?
Dean?
Oh, you're just voting. Okay, then all in
I was
favor.
like-
Everyone's ready to vote. All in favor?
Everyone's like, we're done.
Okay, any opposed? Abstentions or recusals? Okay, motion carries. It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much. We look forward to
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for your
Good.
hard work. I know a lot of work goes into planning, so thank you so much.
I have one, just the traffic and transportation. I'd just like to say one thing. 79th Street between 7th Avenue and 5th Avenue. With the advent of these one wrong way drivers, I think we need more signage on that block there. I live right near there, and I see a lot of people coming off the highway on 7th Avenue, coming down from.
Oh, that's where they deadhead on 79th Street?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
and then 79th between 5th and 6th goes up towards 6th, and then 79th goes down from 7th to 6th. So they meet head on, and I can't tell you how many times I see people just, continuing down that block. So if they can put up some signs there, it would be a great help.
okay. I will send that out to Leroy tomorrow.
Well,
Okay.
Joe,
Yes.
I'm meeting you and Dorothy this week, aren't I?
Yes.
Let's
So-
make that another stop.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, all right, everyone. So I guess the next motion is your favorite one.
A motion to
Everyone.
Two.
Go to sleep.
Motion to adjourn. I see
To
Larry's
adjourn.
hands up. Okay, thank you all.
All right, everybody.
Have a
Good night,
good night.
everybody.
Everybody.
Good night.
Good night,
Seeing
everyone.
everyone.